We asked that same question. Actually, it was our bass player. He looked at me when we were laying down his bass tracks, and he goes, "What kind of music is this?" I go, I don't know. It's us. You can't really
Yeah.
describe it, but you know what? It's a follow up to the first one. We elevate the bar a little bit. Broaden our horizons on where we're going. Continue the journey.
Let's welcome to the show Ian O'Rourke, Goobie Caro from the Central New York heavy metal band Motorlord. Their new album, Motorlord II, out March 13th. Hey guys, what kind of record is this?
It's a sophomore effort.
We asked that same question. Actually, it was our bass player. He looked at me when we were laying down his bass tracks, and he goes, "What kind of music is this?" I go, I don't know. It's us. Can't really
Yeah.
describe it, but you know what? It's a follow up to the first one. We elevate the bar a little bit. Broaden our horizons on where we're going. Continue the journey. It's hard. It's heavy.
Well, what is the difference between Motorlord and Motorlord II? If you were to sum it up in a easy packed up term.
So, the irony to it is, I think I may have alluded to you before, but not unlike Van Halen, we have at our disposal, I think, 30 some odd or 40 some odd songs that we've compiled, and a lot of material that goes back to the beginnings when we were flushing things out. And when we, basically coalesced all of those ideas for the first album together, some of these songs that were here were were stuff that we were rotating in and out of our set list. But they, at the time, it's like, nah, this stuff here is kind of cream of the crop for this. But they weren't, like forgotten. It's like, these are still good. Let's polish them up. Let's get them where they got to be and put them out, and then we had some other stuff we were working on in between. So it's kind of like we've got a few songs that, harken back to the beginning, and then the other stuff is newer material that, coalesced over the last couple of years and then finally was able to get together. It was very monotonous because we, when we released the first CD, COVID kind of shut things down and slowed things up. And then, finally, obviously Diesel had his surgery. Goobie had his surgery, so I mean, there was a lot of little things that happened along the way that kind of, slowed certain progressions. And then it was, a matter of timing, a matter of this, a matter of that. And this time, Goob just said, fuck it, let's do it. I got some time. Let's get it done.
So that's what led to the 6 years between the two releases.
Pretty much.
Motorlord, they're built around twin guitar, twin vocals. When a new song starts, do you instantly know that, hey, this is a Goobie song or this is an Ian song? And similar to Paul and Gene from Kiss, did you ever write something and then maybe Ian's like, you know what, this may be a Goobie song, and so you give it to him?
Well, it's funny you say that because like the last song on this new CD, Voices, Ian had this riff he was playing through, and I think he might have had a melody or something. But after we did the first run through, something got stuck in my head. And when I came back to practice the next day, I had all the words, I had the whole melody, and I just went and I go, "What do you think?" And I had the song since then. There's times when I write, I go, I can picture him singing this. This is going to go right in his wheelhouse, or the key, the key that it's in, who's comfortable playing it, while they sing. I don't think we've ever had any issues with, coming up with who's going to do what.
9 times out of 10, when I'm singing one of his songs, he looks at me and goes, I can't come up with any words. Do you have anything to go with this? And then all right, yeah, I got something. I can do it.
So Ian, Goobie may write the music and the melody, but you'll do the lyrics and vice versa. What about Diesel and Tom? where do they, the bass player and the drummer, where do they come into the mix on this?
When we get together, like, all right, so Ray and I, Goobie and I, excuse me, never come into it with like, this isn't a complete idea. It's something that can, run on its own feet if it needs to. But when we get it in and we're sussing it out with everybody, he may have oh, hold on, I got to, he's got a melody that he adds, or, oh, wait, what if we go to this riff? Or then it's a matter of the contributions of everybody kind of working together, throwing their ideas in, because that's what ultimately makes a Motorlord song a Motorlord song. It's the when you listen to how Diesel plays the drums or how Tom plays the bass, they don't play like other cats. They kind of have their own thing, especially Tom. Tom is this unique bird where it's like, Goob and I always talk about, we kind of plucked him out of the ideal spot of those 70s hard rock bands that we like. And he just kind of fit the amalgamation of all those pieces. So
sure. Goobie, this is for you. If there's one song off Motorlord II that what song really defines this album?
That's a good question.
Wow.
I would probably say Warrior. It's melodic, it's heavy, it's got changes in it. I think that one kind of like sets the tone. It's in the middle of the album as it is, but I mean, it kind of lets you know it's got elements from where we started and where we're going.
Sure. Ian, this one's for you. What do you think fans of the first Motorlord album are going to notice right away when they hear this one?
The energy. It's got our energy to it. When you hear it from the beginnings of the album all the way to the end, it's got all of the peaks and valleys that you would expect. We've got the twin, guitar leads in there. We got the trade-offs and different things that we do. And, it's got that uniform sound, but it doesn't sound like we tried to, let's repaint the first album. It's
right.
It's not like that at all. It's us at a different level.
Yeah. It's a lot more of a raw recording, I'm very old school in my technique. I like to capture the sound that's there. I don't like doing a whole bunch of bells and whistles at the end. So, knowing what we sound like at rehearsal, I want to capture that. One of the elements I can probably say is that I'm not comparing us to these guys in any way, shape, or form, because these guys are awesome. But like AC/DC, Let There Be Rock, that's a raw guitar album. The guitars are just angry right there and just captured raw. I go, we did that, just capture that.
Yep.
The drums, the bass, the drums sound like a nice full drum kit. The bass is nice and thick. It's in there. It's not like just hidden on the bottom. Each instrument has its spot and it shines, and it just together comes right at you, thick.
Yeah. Well, the first one, it's, even though, well, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't record the first one on analog. It was digital, correct?
Right. It was digital, but it was done in a different type of process. That one was all like Pro Tools and, comp here and EQ shelving and all that kind of stuff. And what we did on this one was mic placement and listen back to it. Nope, don't like it. All right, move the mic. Okay, we like that. Now let's change this one, change that one, and just keep going back like that over a course of a year until finally we go, all right, we got the drums where we want them. Let's start recording.
When you listen to Diesel's drums on this compared to the first, it's night and day. I mean, he's thunderous, and everything is captured. Every little nuance is captured. So that's the most important part. Because as I joke with everybody, he's the motor that drives Motorlord. So when Diesel gets rolling, we all follow along. So,
guys, I'm curious about something. Is there anything on this album that would surprise a Motorlord fan that knows the first one? where it's like, wow, these guys really like went out on a ledge or really, are out there on this one. Like the first one had the bongos in the in the main track. Is there something different on this?
Well, it starts off with a disco beat.
All right, there's a
That's
taser.
when you hear it, you'll know right off the bat. It's and then it just goes from there. It's basically that kind of culmination of those ideas from before and
Yeah.
expanding upon them to now.
Yeah, the first song used to be our show opener as well, so we let it open the album. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you write it thinking sequencing?
Oh
No,
no.
when we did believe it or not, when we were assembling the songs that we were putting on, once we wrote them down in the order that we had, were spouting them out, it literally was like, oh, that's it. And that's really what it was, so how's it sound? And you could, even, that was what, 2, 3 years ago, I think, when we really had put everything down what it was, and it stayed on a set list written on the wall in the basement, and it just sat there, and you're staring at it all the time. So it's basically ingrained in your brain that yep,
Right.
that's the flow of the songs, and they have a good flow,
Yeah.
because they do that, that change up of tempos enough and little things that are in there. So
Right. And then we wrote some new songs. So and then we took
yep,
a couple songs out and put two
right,
songs in,
yep,
and I don't know, just made it flow. Like with the first album, I mean, we had a lot of good songs to put on there, but we were looking at the overall flow. What 9 songs were going to work together, And we did the same thing with this one. What 9 songs are going to work together and give the listener a nice little ride?
And that's old school. You talk about
exactly.
Let There Be Rock and all the releases that we grew up on, guys. It's a journey. And that's
Yep.
what I love about the first Motorlord. Because you can put it on. But the thing with the first Motorlord, every song has its own character, its own story. If obviously, if Ian's singing it has a different feel versus Goobie singing it, and the leads will play within that too. But credit to you guys, every song has, like I said, paints a picture. Now
Thank you.
briefly touched on this about some of these songs were possibly 10 years old, some were maybe 10 weeks old. Let's talk about like some of the newer songs you did, because the last few years you talked about Don with his surgery, Goobie with his surgery, but you've been playing out more, probably the most active stretch the band has had in its live career. So how did you make these songs? What inspiration did you achieve to make these songs?
Well, I'll tell you, I can definitely speak for myself on this. So I had an injury where I tore my bicep off. All right, and that was on my guitar, the neck hand, and did some nerve damage and all that stuff. So my goal was just to play guitar, and that was a nice little journey in of itself. So really pushing the envelope from where I was before, because not only did I try to compensate for what I was being able to play before, I wanted to go further. I wanted to prove I can play again. I can keep doing it and go. Probably why Warrior, because that was, I think, one of the first ones coming back. Very melodic that's on this one, and doing stuff with my hand just to make sure I can do all these moving chords, So for me, that has a special something with that,
Yeah.
Same thing with Don getting back in and doing all his little finesse fills and all that stuff, it pushed us. And I remember having a conversation with Don, all we have is ourselves to push us, So don't quit. Just keep going,
You were that you were that injured? How long did you not play for?
Almost 2 months,
And,
right?
well, it was a very long time for me. See, it happened November. I don't think I started playing the March of the following year. So it happened in November. Yeah, the March of the following year. Well, I was able to pick up a guitar and actually touch a string,
Wow.
Yeah, he was casted for what, it was a good 6, 8 weeks, right? Where you had the
Yeah.
brace and the bandaging on. So.
Yeah.
And then he had to do physical therapy and
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
And
arduous
then
process.
that nerve treatment to see what I can feel, what I can't feel.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
that's
that was an eye opener because they had this big prod and they were jabbing it all over, and I'm not feeling nothing,
ah,
maybe a little tingle. So I'm not knowing. And I was there and we were doing it. I think it was like about 45 minutes. And then the doctor was like, well, I'm not getting the reaction I want. I go, what kind of reaction are you supposed to get? So they put the prod on my other arm and I almost went through the room.
oh,
And I was like, wow. She goes, yeah, you're not feeling that in the other arm. So we have some work to do.
oh, wow. Well, it's a good thing. How far back are you? Are you 100? 100%?
I don't think I'll ever be at 100%. Um, I have the nerve feeling on 3 of my fingers on my left hand and the other 2 I don't. So that's muscle memory just when I'm playing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ian, what's your ailment?
Alcohol.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, my ailment is love. I'm a victim of love.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
what are you loving? What are you loving most about Motorlord II?
Like I say, I think it's like you said it, I mean the picture that it paints from song to song and within the song. There's a lot of moments, I mean, and I'm not trying to prop him up too much, but when you talk about Don's a huge Rush fan. He's a big Neil Peart fan.
Mhm.
So he likes to have inflections that are a little bit more progressive. There's moments that are like subtle, but for somebody that would have heard something before, you'll know it when you hear it. Just little things, whether it be in Warrior, whether it be in, the battle, whether it be in, there's just these little things that occur. And then when he has to lock in and just go, I mean, he just goes, I mean, it's pretty intense. So, I mean, the picture itself is awesome.
Ian, what's your favorite song off this album, or your favorite song today off this album?
Believe it or not, there's 2 songs that we've been playing back to back in the set list, Nightmare and Edge of the World. And they were something that when we were doing some shows, when we first were, rolling out with some of the newer material, reaction was great from people. They were like, and they were really getting into it. And when you hear them, there's so much energy. It's just so, those 2 probably are my tops from this so far.
Well, this band started 2017. Is that when the creation of?
Yeah.
Summer 2017, Tom officially joined us, and that's when we were born. Yep.
Well, the great thing here is the original band's still intact. What does
Absolutely.
that say? What does that say about Motorlord today?
You've got nothing else to do.
Well,
No, really. I mean, it's.
I think what it is because everyone knows a lifespan of anything is like 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So to go this long, I have to say it has to be a mutual respect for each other and an understanding of the ups and downs in life, and not to let that interfere with the music. Um, we are aging adults and we have to act like aging adults, so we think things through. We can't be too rash, can't have arguments, we can't get into blowout fights because someone will have to call an ambulance,
Yeah.
and not because we're hurting each other, it's because we hurt ourselves in the process of trying to argue. You take a deep breath to yell, you blow a lung out.
I think the other thing too is, we've gotten to a point where, the relationship that Goobie and I have goes back a long, long way. So we already had that, but getting 2 more characters involved that now can mesh within the creative process and have the patience, because like sometimes when you're working on things and you're trying to, suss something out, it doesn't come in 5 minutes. Sometimes it could be the better part of a practice where you're trying to just get something right to put it to memory. So you remember what you did to come back the next time again and have improved upon it. So, I mean, that's a good aspect of it as well in the longevity of the band.
Sure. Before we get out of here, the CD drops the 13th, all streaming services. Any live performances this spring, summer, Central New York, Western New York, Pennsylvania, or anything?
So we do have a show coming up. It's an animals benefit that we do every year here in the Rome Utica area. So that's April 11th, and that will start us off. Then we have to compile everyone's schedule to see who's available for what, so we can start booking some shows and trying to get out Rochester and Buffalo. I know Tom's got some connections out in Buffalo, so we're looking to do like a couple of shows out that way.
Cool.
And then Filthy Animals, our mutual friends project. He's already offered his services to jam with us anytime, any place. So we'll see if we can get something going with that too.
All right, Ian O'Rourke, Goobie Caro, Motorlord again, March 13th, Motorlord II. Get out there, support the band, pick it up, buy the hard copy. For Metal Mayhem ROC, I'm the Vernomatic. See ya.
Peace.
Thanks for watching Metal Mayhem ROC. Subscribe and check out another interview right here.